Salvete discipulaeque. Today we have a lesson over Latin nouns. So we are just going to be looking at noun cases for today and figure out how do we classify a noun in Latin. But we're going to start out with noun cases. That is our topic for today. So there are 4 categories that classify a noun in Latin: declension, case, number, and gender. So we'll go more into depth on all of these, but today our focus is on noun case. That is our focus for today. So for noun cases, there are 5 different noun cases in Latin. These cases are nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative. This is the order which they appear in. Every noun chart that you will use and make for this class, we will use them in this order: nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. And you'll just naturally memorize this order because we're going to be writing a lot of these charts. So to learn how to translate successfully and also pass the test in this class, and just learn Latin, you must memorize all these noun cases and their functions. It's a lot easier than it looks, honestly, so let's get right into it. So Latin, first to preface, every word that you see in a real Latin sentence will be in a noun case. So it'll just appear as one of the 5 noun cases, and that'll help tell you how to translate it. So now we can get into what these noun cases are and how they function. First, let's talk about the nominative. The nominative case is always going to be the subject of the sentence. The subject carries out the main action of the sentence. So for example, the king is eating cake. That means the king is the subject, and the king, if it were a Latin sentence, would appear in the nominative, because the king is the one doing the action. He's eating the cake. The king is eating the cake. Who is eating the cake? The king. He is the subject. He is performing the action of the verb. So anytime you see a word in Latin in the nominative case, it will be the subject of the sentence. Remember, unlike English, word order does not matter in Latin. This means the subject could appear almost anywhere in a Latin sentence. So you need the noun case to figure out where the subject is. Because in English, you just see the subject at the beginning of the sentence. You see the king is eating cake. The king is at the beginning. The king is the subject. But in Latin, the word the king, rex in Latin, could appear anywhere in the sentence. So you need to be able to recognize the nominative noun case to see where the subject is, to see that the king is the subject. So a note also to mention, the nominative case is also used for words that are considered predicate subjects, such as Reggie is the king is Reggie. So this only happens with the word I am, to be, is, and in both sentences, both Reggie and the king would be in the nominative. The meanings are interchangeable because you could say Reggie is the king is Reggie, and the meaning is the same. So both act as the subject. This sort of nominative can only happen with the word meaning I am, to be, though. So it's not super common. Just if you see is, are, am, to be, then there could be a predicate nominative in there. Now we can move on to our second noun case, the genitive. The genitive case shows possession. In English, we usually denote possession with an apostrophe plus s. When translating, it is easiest to translate words in the genitive case using the word of. So here are some examples. He is the king of the castle. The word the castle would be in the genitive because it's showing possession. He is the king of the castle. The king owns the castle. It's his possession. Gaius is the friend of Lucius. Again, we have that of right there. And it's of Lucius, showing possession. Gaius is Lucius's friend. So here, see, I put an apostrophe s, or in this case just an apostrophe because English grammar, to show you how it changes in English. You can have of Lucius or Lucius's, Lucius friend. Marcella likes the work of the artist. Again, we've got that of in there. Marcella likes the artist's work. So again, you can see how these are interchangeable. The artist apostrophe and of the artist both give you the same meaning, And both those would be in the genitive, artist in both of these sentences. Everything underlined here in these sentences would be in the genitive in Latin. So in this sentence, let's do a little practice, and you can pause the video. What word would be in the genitive? The school of fish swim away from us. Pause the video if you need to. The school of fish swam away from us. Okay, in this sentence, it would be fish. Fish would be your word in the genitive, right there, fish, because it is the school of fish, the school belonging to fish, being of fish. You've got the word of there to show you the genitive case. So of is super important, of and apostrophe s, and just the fact that it is showing possession all encapsulate the genitive. And now let's move on to the dative, our third noun case of the day. The dative is used for indirect objects. So when you see the dative, try to translate it with either to or for. So an example, he gave the pencil to Marcus. It is to Marcus, and Marcus would be in the dative. Mom and Dad go to work for us. They do it for us. Us would be in the dative. Penelope bought candy for her brothers. Her brothers would be in the dative because it is for her brothers. So here's a practice. What word would be in the dative in this sentence? Pause the video. David gave an order to his friend. It's going to be his friend. He gave the order to his friend. So it is the indirect object. It is to his friend. He gave an order, there's your direct object, to his friend, the indirect object. And we've got that, there's to or for. Very important for the dative case, to or for. Now we have the accusative case. We're on our fourth noun case now. The direct object of the sentence will always be in the accusative case. The object is the word that is receiving the action in the sentence. So for example, Melissa threw the basketball. She threw the basketball. That is our object because the basketball is the thing that's being thrown. It's receiving the action of the verb, which makes it the direct object. And Melissa, a quick review, would be our subject, right? And she would be in the nominative case. Melissa would be nominative. Melissa threw the basketball. The basketball would be accusative. Melissa subject, basketball object, Melissa nominative, basketball accusative. Gaius loved his wife. So Gaius is our subject. He's doing the loving. He loved his wife. And his wife is receiving that action, loved his wife. So that is our object, our accusative object. And now we've got Jane ate the pie. The pie is going to be our object right here. Jane is our subject. The pie would be in the accusative. Jane ate the pie is receiving the action, the pie is being eaten. Here's a little practice. Can you identify which word in the following sentence would be in the accusative case? The soldier defeated an enemy. Pause the video. The soldier defeated an enemy. An enemy will be in the accusative case, right here, an enemy. It is the one being defeated, receiving the action of the verb, making it the direct object, so it would be in the accusative. Here's our last noun case for today. The ablative case is the most complex of the noun cases in Latin, so we're just going to dip our foot into the ablative today. It may be used by itself or with prepositions, and is commonly used to express, with or without the aid of prepositions, ideas translated into English by the prepositions from, with, by, and in. And there are more prepositions out there for the ablative. These are just some of the common ones. So for example, the soldier struck the enemy with a sword. A sword would be in the ablative because it is with a sword. With, our preposition, with a sword. Helen went out with her friends. With her friends? Again, that would be ablative. Billy went away from the crowd. From the crowd, there's our preposition. Now remember, the dative uses to or for, so don't get that confused as a preposition and make that ablative. The dative uses to or for, the ablative uses from, with, by, and in. And there's a little bit more to think about when coming to the ablative, but we'll get there later. Here we're just dipping our toe in and figuring out how to identify it at first. So can you identify what word would appear in the ablative case in the following sentence? Caesar attended a meeting in the Senate House. Pause the video. The ablative would be the Senate House. The meeting is in the Senate House. That is our preposition showing us the ablative. The Senate House is our ablative right there. Okay, now we can do a little practice. So try and identify the noun case that each highlighted word would appear in if this were a Latin sentence. So in blue we have John. So John gave a cookie to Joanna in the kitchen. Cookie is green, Joanna is pink, kitchen is yellow. So try to identify for yourself what noun case each of these would be. So we're only using 4 noun cases in this sentence, not 5. So try and identify which 4 are being used and what word they're being used for. Okay, so pause the video right here, and then I will come back and give you an answer. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and got your answers down, because now I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm clicking on the next slide. So here we go. Blue would be nominative because John is in the nominative. John gave a cookie. John is the subject here. He's the one doing the giving. So John is nominative. The green word, the cookie or a cookie, is going to be accusative because John gave a cookie. The cookie is the thing being given. It's the object, the direct object. And then in pink, we have Joanna, which is going to be dative because he gave the cookie to Joanna. So she's the indirect object, not direct, indirect. And we also have that to for word, to or for, to Joanna, indicating that it's dative. And lastly, in the kitchen, our yellow highlighted word, is going to be ablative because it uses a preposition, in the kitchen. But remember, dative uses to or for, ablative does not. It'll be in, from, by, with, at, something like that. So our ablative, yellow, the kitchen. And that's all I have for you today. Hopefully this gave you a good little encapsulation of what noun cases are, how they appear in English, and once we start learning the noun charts, we can figure out how to put noun cases into Latin and how they look there. Valete!